kitchen countertops have very similar rules, okay, but the spacings are tighter. And so we call it the 2-foot, 4-foot rule. And countertop receptacles, okay, these are specifically only the countertop receptacles, are going to serve spaces for 2 feet on either side. Okay, so 2 feet from one, 2 feet from the other, we get a maximum of 4-foot spacing. And with the wall receptacles, I like to imagine the floor lamp. For countertop receptacle, pick your favorite small appliance, like this blender here, and imagine that it's got a 2-foot cord. You should be able to place that blender anywhere on your countertop and plug it in. So there are similar rules for the 2-foot, 4-foot rule and the kitchen countertops than we were just talking about the general rooms. No point on the countertop is more than 2 feet or 24 inches from an outlet. Okay. And any wall space that's greater than or equal to 12 inches has to have an outlet. Okay. For general rooms, that was a 24-inch wall segment. For countertops, it's a 12-inch. So they shrunk it in half. Okay. 12-inch segment of countertop requires an outlet. In your general room, your wall line was broken by doors and full height glass and fireplaces. Your countertops are going to be broken up by range tops, refrigerators, sinks. Okay, those will all break your counter line or your counter space. So here's an example, and let's walk through it. Okay, here is your kitchen counter. And let's start at this end right here. We'll talk about the island, the peninsula and the island a little bit later. They have special rules. All right, but just right here, we want 2 foot from the end line to have an outlet, and then a maximum of 4 feet in between. Okay, this wall line is unbroken all the way until this stove. Okay, so 2 feet from the end point and a maximum of 4 feet. Okay, and we are counting or measuring along the back of the countertop. So it's the wall line specifically back here. Okay. Think of it as like you're measuring the backsplash. Don't measure the front of the countertop. Okay. So this range or this stove breaks the counter. And so on this side, our counter is going to run from this point to the sink. Okay. And so we need a maximum of 2 feet from either side. Okay, in this case, we put it a little closer to the sink, and that's okay because it's a maximum of 2 feet. Starting in this side, the wall runs from the sink and turns the corner and goes to this refrigerator right here. So we have a maximum of 2 feet away from the end point. This is a little shorter, that's okay. All right, maximum of 2 feet, and then in between, a maximum of 4 feet between these. Okay, and finally, we have a little end countertop here. It's 2 feet wide. It's greater than 1 foot. It needs a outlet. Okay. Coming back to those peninsulas and islands, the 2 foot, 4 foot rule does not apply. Every peninsula and every island is required to have at least one outlet. And often it's on the side, and so the rule is it can't be all the way down near the floor. Okay, it has to be within 12 inches of the countertop, so that the think of your 2-foot blender cord can still reach. Here's another example of the 2 foot, 4 foot rule. It's kind of a 3-dimensional view, so maybe this will help a little bit. And so in this case, we've got kind of an L-shaped counter here, and then this piece counts as a peninsula, and we've got an island. So let's start at the far back left section here. You can see that this little chunk of countertop starts here, goes there. It's greater than 1 foot wide. It needs an outlet. Okay. Now the next unbroken section starts here at the edge of the stove, runs and turns the corner and then stops here at the edge of the sink. So from either side of those two edges, you have a maximum of 2 feet before you need to hit an outlet, and then in between a maximum of 4 feet. Okay. The next unbroken section starts right here, okay, at the edge of the sink, and it's going to run all the way over here, which, sorry, is not shown in this picture. Okay, so from those two edges, a maximum of 2 feet, and then the interior spacing of a maximum of 4 feet. Okay, now let's talk about those islands and peninsulas. Here's one, here's your peninsula, here's your island. They require a minimum of 1. You can absolutely put more if you want or need to, okay, especially on a nice big island, you might want more than 1. But they only have to have 1. 2-foot, 4-foot rule does not apply, and they are a maximum of 6 inches below that countertop. And if you have an overhang, okay, it's a maximum of 6-inch overhang. So you can't put them under a knee space and have them count for that island or peninsula. One more rule I'm going to throw in at you. Here we go. You still with me? Okay. This bar type counter right here is serving as a room divider. It is the division between the kitchen on that side and probably the dining room or possibly the living room on this side. Okay. So for the room on this side, we'll call it a dining room, we're counting that piece as a wall. Okay, so therefore the 6-foot, 12-foot rule applies, and here is the edge of the wall right here, and you're going to need a receptacle within 6 feet of that end point. Okay, that's not a countertop receptacle, that's not a peninsula receptacle, that receptacle belongs to the dining room. Okay. So you've just learned a lot about National Electrical Code, California Title 24, and where you're required to put electrical outlets. So I'd like to encourage you and challenge you to take a look at these examples in your textbooks and see if you can count out the spacing requirements for all the outlets, all the countertop outlets, all the wall outlets in this kitchen design and see if they did it right. All right. Okay, this has been a long topic, but I'm going to throw one more thing in here, and we'll talk about bathrooms. Remember I told you at the beginning of this video that bathrooms require at least 1 outlet. Now, most of the bathrooms that you're going to design will actually include more, okay, and that's okay, but you have to have at least 1, okay? And if you only have the 1, it has to be within 3 foot of the edge of the sink. Okay, so 3 foot, and that's a 3-dimensional measurement. Okay, could be on the wall, could be on a partition like this over here, could be over here on this wall. Okay, but it's got to be within 3 feet of the edge of your sink. Okay, the other important rule about bathrooms is that you don't want any receptacles or switches within 3 feet of your bathtub or your shower. Okay, it's not safe for these to be reachable at all from people who are standing in the tub or shower. All right, so you've just learned about where receptacles should be placed according to code and kind of their spacing rules. And this is something that you're going to need to practice a couple of times before it really sinks in because it's fairly complicated. The next video, we're going to move on and talk about lighting and switches.